If I were to make any encouragement to President Trump and Secretary Noem, it would be do this everywhere. We should not be bringing people into America to get an education who hate us. They should be coming here to get an education, and frankly, they should keep their mouths shut beyond that.
What they're doing at Columbia, threatening at Princeton, et cetera, indicates that they are a bunch of wannabe dictators who want to control American university life. They want to control the curriculum. They want to control the faculty. They want to control the student body.
Well,
they want to control research.
I mean,
No, they don't, Joey. Under no circumstances.
We have a new development in the showdown between Trump and Harvard. Judge Burroughs issuing a temporary restraining order, essentially stopping Kristi Noem from canceling Harvard's ability to enroll foreign students. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. So I've talked before about what happened, and just kind of to do a quick recap and then where we are, because this is a very quick moving story here. Kristi Noem tried to basically take away Harvard's ability to enroll foreign students. It's a program called the Student Exchange Visitor Program. Harvard has essentially enrolled foreign students for 70 years and always been compliant and certified under this program. Universities go through quite a lengthy process to even get certified and get recertified. And an institution like Harvard is certainly going to know how to comply with the regulations. They've had to cooperate with the government for years with this kind of certification. Kristi Noem, as we know, Trump has been trying to go after Harvard. Harvard, unlike Columbia, has been standing up to Trump, and Trump is the escalation between the two have ratcheted up to this level, because when you are making it so Harvard cannot admit foreign students, you are essentially gutting them as a university, both financially and because they are trying to attract the best and the brightest around the world. And having them be wrapped up in litigation like this is certainly hard for them and missions. But this is where we are legally with it. Judge Burrow issuing the temporary restraining order, and it was a very short order, basically just said the defendants are enjoined from implementing, instituting, maintaining, or giving effect to the revocation of plaintiff's SEVP certification, and enjoined from giving any force or effect to the Department of Homeland Security's May 22nd, 2025 revocation notice. And this temporary restraining order was issued on May 23rd. Sometimes our justice works slowly, not in this case. So that means status quo remains the same. Foreign students aren't immediately expelled. Harvard can still bring foreign students in. But of course, this is just the beginning of the legal fight. Harvard, after this letter went out, they sued, saying that Department of Homeland Security was an illegal revocation for three reasons. One, it was a violation of Harvard's First Amendment rights. Two, it was a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act. Yes, that act yet again, which has basically come up in almost every lawsuit against Trump. And it was a violation of the due process rights that Harvard has. Because essentially, Harvard, here you have this law that says, hey, university, if you do these things, we will certify you. We will allow you to bring in foreign students under our visa program. Harvard has invested money, developed curriculum, developed programs in order to comply and receive this certification. And then it's getting ripped out from under them without any due process rights. They have relied on the government's itemization of what is required. And the government isn't canceling it because they're not in compliance with it. They're canceling it because they're trying to cancel Harvard as a whole. So it's a violation of their basic due process rights. It's also a violation of the Administrative Procedure Act, which says that the government can't act in an arbitrary and a capricious way. And this is what Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security, did when she just issued this letter, again, not because Harvard somehow fell out of compliance under the terms of the act, but because Harvard didn't do what they wanted them to do. Well, Harvard spelled out exactly what Trump did in this complaint, which is why I'm sure they got a TRO so quickly. So evidently, one of the things that The April 11th letter to Harvard was asking for Harvard to hire a third party to audit the viewpoints of its students, faculty, and staff, and depending on the results of the audit, hire and admit a, quote, critical mass of people to achieve the government's preferred level of viewpoint diversity in each department, field, or teaching unit, refuse admission to international students hostile to American values, exclusively empower faculty supportive of the government's action, and reduce the power of those opposed. Allow the government to review its faculty hires, expel or suspend specific sets of students, disband disfavored student clubs, and establish mechanisms for Harvard community members. The government then froze $2.2 billion in federal funding when Harvard refused to do that, which basically all of that requirement is basically like Big Brother government control of perhaps the most elite university in this country. This is their whole point, as Ron Filipkowski pointed out when he retweeted this quote, which was, don't threaten me with a good time, when this idea of the Chinese students maybe not being able to come to the US, that Harvard was going to crumble. This isn't about their stated goals of combating anti-Semitism, which actually is a very real goal, but this isn't their goal. I mean, when you are talking about viewpoint diversity, when you are talking about making sure it fits government actions, and you're talking about in the context of Trump, you are talking about all of their racist viewpoints, their authoritarian actions. This gets to a really level. This is why Harvard could not cooperate, because it would have been the destruction of their university, not only because it is counterintuitive to their teachings, but students that get into Harvard get into a lot of elite universities. Evidently, the future queen of Belgium was supposed to come to Harvard and is getting caught up in this visa dispute. The fact is, international students who are attracted and can get into Harvard, can get into Oxford and other top universities throughout the world. If Harvard suddenly became just the liaison or controlled by the government, people are not going to come. Students are not going to come. According to Harvard's complaint, on April 16th, Secretary Noem sent her letter to the Harvard seeking 8 broad categories of information on every international student studying at Harvard under an F1 visa, threatening that failure to comply would be deemed a voluntary withdrawal of Harvard's SEVP certification, and warning that the withdrawal will not be subject to appeal. So we saw Secretary Noem out there on TV saying they were looking for audio, video footage, but here they were looking for information for literally every international student, asking Harvard to spy on their students, something that they knew Harvard could not or would not comply with. This is all a game of how can we destroy Harvard, according to Trump. And then Harvard pointing out, according to the letter, it says consequences must follow to send a clear signal to Harvard and all universities that want to enjoy the privilege of enrolling foreign students that the Trump administration will enforce the law and root out the evils of anti-Americanism. Don't know what that means in the context of Trump, and anti-Semitism in society and campuses. And then according to Harvard, it says, or put another way, because the administration perceives the members of Harvard's community have the wrong viewpoints, Harvard will be punished until it alters its viewpoints to satisfy the administration's demands. Again, we see here them wanting information on every international student. We see Trump here wanting them to have diversity viewpoints throughout the entire university, wanting to control the university, the most authoritarian goal ever, but also Harvard pointing out successfully in their filing that this is a direct violation of their First Amendment rights, because you are attacking things people say. And things people say, whether or not it's teaching in the classroom or outside the classroom, is protected by the First Amendment. We can't have basically an essential government contract, let's say, canceled because of our First Amendment rights. It has to be canceled in under the processes, under due process. We cannot be punished because we're not willing to spy on our students or to stop their First Amendment rights. And of course, as always, we see this amazing argument, Jessica Tarlov on Fox, reiterating kind of what the court really did just agree with, that this is a pretext. This is a pretext by Trump. Take a listen.
Where I feel that the administration has really lost the plot, though, is why they have decided to squander so much goodwill in terms of combating anti-Semitism on college campuses by this level of gross overreach. What they're trying to do with Harvard to take away 27% of the population, which is the international population there, what they're doing at Columbia, threatening at Princeton, et cetera, indicates that they are a bunch of wannabe dictators who want to control American university life. They want to control the curriculum. They want to control the faculty. They want to control the student body.
Well,
they want to control research.
No,
they don't, Joey. Under no circumstances. We have a First Amendment.
I wouldn't send my kid to one of those schools.
We have a First Amendment and we have academic freedom in this country. And that's what the courts are doing. They're pushing back from immigration to academic freedom. The courts are showing up. But it's clear that this administration is just taking every opportunity that they can to amass as much executive power and control as possible. And they're also not thinking about the consequences if the shoe is ever going to be on the other foot. It is possible that a Democrat could get elected. And if you set a precedent that you're going to have this kind of level of control, you're not going to be very happy with the implications of that. I'm glad to see the university standing strong, supporting their research communities, but we are going to be less safe because of this. We are going to be less prosperous. The economic benefit out of these research labs is astronomically good for the American economy. And people are, you can joke and say, well, what do we want you anyway? They're going to go to other universities because if you can be picked up, if you're a Turkish national with a visa here and you can be picked up and put in an ICE truck, or you can't even get into Harvard now, why wouldn't you just go to Oxford?
Trump's attack on Harvard isn't an attack on an elite institution. It's an attack on all of our institutions because an institution like Harvard sets the tone for universities across the country. If they are willing to spy on their students or do the bidding or change their curriculum based on what Trump wants them to say, then other universities will follow. This is why Trump attacks an elite university like Harvard. But Harvard's standing up and successfully winning in court. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Be sure to free subscribe because there are going to be even more developments in this case than others.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.